Hey, good morning, guys. In San Antonio, Texas. My name's Dr. Rob Kelly, the addiction doctor. And what a great day today. Got some bad news, guys. I don't know where my co-host has gone. Kristen Nolan. Has anybody seen her anywhere? Kristen? She's just not showing up today. I hope she's well. So, yeah, this is Breaking Through Addiction, guys. I hope you're all in a fantastic week. We had two great guests last week, and we've got a great two guests coming on. One of them is a friend of mine that I met a couple of years ago now, I think it was, that does some amazing work. But listen, guys, if you want to be on the show, or you just want to be part of the show, or you just want to send us a message, please feel free. You can do it. You don't have to be a superstar or a rock star to be on here. It's everyday stories with everyday people. That's what it's all around, spreading the message, making sure that everybody's good and everybody understands. It's information for addicts and alcoholics and parents and brothers and sisters and husbands and wives of alcoholics, because it's educational. And if you want some questions asked for any of us or the guests, just send them in to me via my Facebook or YouTube, or message me direct. Most of my guys out there know my phone number, and then we'll get them forward for you, because it can be confusing. Addiction and recovery can be confusing. You don't know who to trust. Ellie Lawton back in the UK. I want to say a big hi to Ellie. She's one of my #1 fans, which is so cute. We speak every single day, and it's just amazing. And then some of the guys, obviously, Adam over there in Florida and Jeff over there in Florida. I just hope you're having all a great day, guys. Listen, Mary Maxine Bobbitt is on the show after this quick break. So listen up, grab your cup of coffee, sit down, and we're about to go. Hey guys, my name is Rob Kelly, the addiction doctor, Dr. Rob. Along today was Mary Maxine Bobbitt, or Mary Bobbitt. Hey Mary, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Dr. Rob?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm excited and nervous to be on the show with you.
Well, don't be nervous. There's only a couple of us, me and you and two other people. Listen, where did we meet? Where did we first meet? I can't remember.
You spoke at New Choices. That's when I first met you.
Oh, that crazy talk.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, because there was a couple of people struggling there, and I got to get real with them, you know, and stand in front of them, and it was just amazing. So, yeah, fantastic. So tell the viewers and listeners what you do now, and then we'll go back into your journey.
Well, right now I work at Haven for Hope, which is a homeless shelter, but they call it a transformational center, because I do see a lot of people here whose lives are transformed. I'm a jail outreach peer support specialist, so I go to the jails and I interview people who are homeless and see if they'd be interested in coming to Haven for Hope and getting counseling or drug and alcohol treatment. We put them on the list to get housing and just give them case management and support and try to help them.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember visiting a friend of ours who runs, because there's loads of different charities within that place. Guys, if you don't know it, go online, find it, Haven for Hope over in San Antonio. It's the most amazing place I've ever seen. So we went to visit, and what happened with us is they shown us around the place, you know, what it's all about. But they led us into this courtyard, and when I was in the courtyard, I just broke down. It was like I saw all these guys just like me, who was wandering the street, but these had somewhere to go. And it was an outside, I hope they still have it, an outside courtyard where security at nighttime, so you can get in as long as you're not carrying anything, I think. Yep. But yeah, there's a place there, but such an amazing place. What's it like to work there, Mary?
Well, you know, it's great to work here, because the way that I was a client of Haven for Hope, and the way that I came to Haven for Hope the first time was in 2010, and I came to the courtyard. A police officer brought me to the courtyard in the middle of the night.
No.
And yes. So
that's
how I came to Haven for Hope.
Wow.
I was a chronic relapser, and the last time I went to treatment was here at Haven for Hope. So I went through treatment here. I got case management here. I went to Pay It Forward dorm, and so I lived on campus for a year. And fast forward, I've worked in the treatment industry, and now I'm back working here after all this time, and it's amazing to be able to sit there and talk to somebody and say, I literally sat where you're sitting, and it's possible to.
Wow, that's
It's possible.
unbelievable. Hey
Mhm.
guys, Kristen's joined us. We're just looking for you. We sent all our listeners and viewers out to find you, so no doubt somebody's found you. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good. I was told that we're starting the podcast an hour later this week, which is why I wasn't going to come until 11.
Huh? Strange. I don't know anything about that. As you know,
Yeah.
I just get times. No, it's always 12 o'clock unless it's different. I don't.
No.
Who told you that? Who told you? I need to track them people down.
I don't want to put anyone on blast, but
No,
I will forward you the conversation.
Okay, that's awesome. So this is Mary. This is Christine. This
Hi,
is my
Kristen.
co-host.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
So I have
Nice
to
to see
say,
you.
first of all, that when I met Maxine, that's just gobsmacked me. That's an English word. Because when you meet her, she's like this beautiful, tiny, precious stone that you meet.
Oh,
I just
that's
never
sweet.
thought that you was homeless and
Oh,
actually
yeah.
went there. That's incredible. Tell us a bit about your story.
Well, I became addicted to painkillers when I was about 20. I got some prescribed to me for migraines, and I didn't, want to drink because I've seen alcoholism in my family, so I always knew I wanted to stay away from that. But I started taking painkillers without realizing that I was becoming addicted. So that's how everything started for me, was with painkillers. And fast forward 12 years later, I was shooting heroin. So I didn't see it coming, and it got really bad to the point where I was on the streets, and I was hopeless. I went to treatment a lot, but when I stopped having any hope, I didn't want to try again, and I just wanted to die. So when the last time that I went to treatment, like I said, was here at Haven for Hope. On October 26th, 2013, I checked myself into detox across the street. And on November 8th, I came here to Haven for Hope on November 8th, 2013. And I didn't plan on staying sober. I didn't think it was possible. And I just moved my feet, even though I didn't want to or didn't think anything good would happen. And here I am. I just followed suggestions, and I definitely feel very blessed that I'm sober,
Oh, wow. Mary, I wanted to ask you to share with us when you went to the hospital. Share about that.
Which time?
The last time.
The
I think it was the last time.
Adjust your headset again, Mary. It's gone off. Just adjust your headset. There you
There,
go.
can you
Back
hear
on.
me?
Yes.
All right. So I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I went, I was really bad in the throes of addiction, and I was in Kerrville, and I was so desperate for help that I went to the hospital and was telling them I was suicidal because I needed help. So it was taking a long time, and I finally said, I'm just going to leave. You guys are taking too long. But the sheriff said, you can't leave, because you said you were suicidal. So I got mad. But anyway, the doctor came in and she said, well, congratulations. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you're pregnant. And my jaw hit the ground. I was 36.
Oh,
and my first thought was that I can't have this baby. I'm homeless. I'm an addict. And so I didn't plan on having the baby, but I did. I prayed about it, and I clearly heard God's voice say, just trust me. And now I have my beautiful 9-year-old daughter, Brielle, and she knows that mommy is in recovery. She knows a little bit about my story. I don't tell her all the nitty gritty details, but I do want her to know that there's a family history, and so that she has some knowledge and is somewhat prepared as she gets older.
Wow. Okay. So you're living on the streets. What's the, if you can say, if you can't, you can't. What's the worst thing you did on the streets that absolutely sends shivers down your spine when you mention it again?
I would say try to kill myself. You
Mm.
know, there was a number of times that I didn't want to live, but I also felt that I brought my family so much shame
Yeah.
from being an
Yeah.
addict. And again, it just seems like there were so many things that happened right before. They say it's always darkest before the dawn.
Mm.
And right before I got sober this time, I my diseased mind was telling me, you can't stay sober. If you want to be sober, you just have to kill yourself. And so I'm ashamed of that. I mean, my daughter was born, she was a baby. I relapsed after she was a couple of months old, and my mind kept saying, you're a horrible mother. You don't want your daughter to have a mother like you. Just kill yourself. Um and I'm yeah, that's hard to think about, that even when she was an infant, I tried to kill myself a number of times. I ended up in the Nick's hospital, which is a
Mm.
mental hospital, 3 times after Brielle was born. That's hard to think
Wow.
about.
Oh, Mary, your story is it's so much like mine in so many ways. I loved how you said that you are honest with your daughter, because I also have a daughter and she's 5 years old. And I always say the same thing. Like, I want to be honest with her. Not, like you said, not too much, based on her age, what she can handle and what she,
Mhm.
but I loved how you said that you're honest with her. I think it's so important, because you said you come from a long bloodline of alcoholics and
Yes.
addicts. It's so important for them to know what we have.
Right.
And it's so important for them to be strapped with the facts and the knowledge. And I also love how, when, taking her to the meetings and stuff, like you said, I love that. To me, that's like, we pray to God that our kids don't have this disease, but at the same time, like, we know that it's very likely.
Right.
And it's so important for us to strap them with that armor.
Yes, absolutely.
The armor and the all of the things, that the tools and the weapons that they need to fight through this illness.
And
So-
one thing, go ahead,
Go.
Dr. Bob.
No, go.
One of the main things that I've noticed, because I've worked in the treatment industry for a little bit now, but working where I'm at now is a little bit different, because I'm dealing with the population that is not only dealing with alcoholism and addiction, but homelessness. And so when I go to the jail and I interview a lot of these people, one of the main things that I see, because I'm wondering how they got to where they're at, is either both of their parents have died, or they age out of a foster care system and end up on the streets. And that is absolutely heartbreaking. And I think about that and how much of a difference being a present parent can make in somebody's life,
Definitely. I mean, the children always take that on board. They're very, very resilient, is what I found. But having connected with my daughter, Charlotte Kelly, some years ago, 3-4 years ago, I only found out then how much effect I'd caused, how much damage I caused, and how much trauma I'd caused through. And it was very healing for both of us, by the way. But it also shows you that once you get into recovery, things start to come back. Now, that might take a year, it might take 20 years. It doesn't make any difference. Things will come back and you can reunite. But people are always absolutely amazed when we do a patient together. So Charlie does Monday, Tuesday, I do the other 5 days, and I go, is that really your dad, or is that really your daughter? And it's sending a message out, as far as I'm concerned. It's sending a message that you can be reunited with kids, with family, with uncles, aunties, husbands, wives, whatever it may be, the situation. So you sat in the courtyard of Haven for Hope.
Yes.
What was the day when you came off, or got out, or was taken somewhere? What started your journey outside that premises?
What started my journey before that?
When you got out of Haven for Hope,
Okay.
that day, what was that day look like? Did you know you was getting out, or how was it planned?
When I was getting out of Haven for Hope, it was all, when I went through the process and treatment and sober living, it was all planned out, which is different because I was very reactionary and impulsive. So I finally just decided I'm going to take suggestions. I lived at the sober dorm on campus for a while, and then I went to an Oxford house. And so everything was very strategic, and I took input from case managers, my sponsor, people who were helping me. I can tell you that the very first time I walked off campus to go to a doctor's appointment on my own when I was still in treatment, the very first person that came up to me said, "Hey, do you want some Klonopin?" And I
Wow.
started laughing because I thought that's what happens. Like the disease will stalk you. And I laughed. And luckily at that time I was able to, I didn't have any desire, but I thought, well, there's the disease again saying, "Hey, there's Mary. Let's see if we can get her some pills." But so everything was planned, and I went to the Oxford House, and I loved Oxford House. I think it's a great model. And I just think that the longer that you are in a supportive environment, or you put yourself around people who are serious about their recovery and doing the same thing, the more chance you have to be successful in recovery.
What were the most important pieces to your recovery puzzle, or what are they?
Well, definitely community, a community of people who are doing the same thing. And my father, was an alcoholic. He passed away in 2015, but one thing he used to always tell me is a real friend tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So people that care enough about you to tell you the truth, and people that you trust to tell you the truth, I think
That's
that's
difficult
really
sometimes to find them friends, because I know with me, there can be a lot of yes men and women around me.
Mhm.
And I know when I go to my 12-step meeting, it's just the way it is. It's not me, that people look at this kind of famous person, because I was left out. This is the craziest story. So I've run this book study every Saturday morning, 9:30 at Bring Your Own Big Book Study in San Antonio. And after the book study, before the big meeting, people would break out into different groups, and nobody would come over and say anything to me. And I got like really upset. I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done wrong? Did I do anything? So I said to my sponsor one day, I said, I don't really think people like me here. I said, they put up with the book study, but nobody says hi. And he started laughing. And he says, first of all, Rob, you're very intimidating, especially when you do the book study, when you're screaming and shouting obscenities out and stuff like that to get everyone excited. And secondly, they see you on TV. They're not going to come up and say hi to you. And I'm like, wow. So I started saying hi to them. And then, of course, everybody comes up to me now and gets my attention. But that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. What's one thing you've learned from your past?
That it can all be fuel to push you forward. It can either be something to take you down, or it can be fuel to push you forward and make you stronger, really.
Mary, I wanted to know, what was the biggest challenge for you in recovery? Like, what's the biggest?
Well, let's see. I would say overcoming my stubborn, know-it-all mind, like that was such a habit that I knew what was best. I know what I'm doing. Just overcoming my, and still, it's definitely still a work in progress, because I still struggle with that. Just that overcoming myself, that part of you that's like, oh, you don't need to do that, or they don't know what they're talking about, or, just that self-sabotaging part, of my brain that was in the driver's seat for so many years. I was my own worst enemy for many, many years. So that's what I would say has been the number one thing. And again, trusting other people to tell me the truth, because I knew I couldn't trust myself for a long time as far as my decision making was concerned.
Yeah, big trait of the disease. If you could go back to being 16, what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
You're stronger than you think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that, Chris. That's nice. I like that, Mary. That's awesome.
And thank you, Dr. Rob.
It's beautiful. I was just also wondering, what if you could say one thing to families of people in active addiction, what would you say?
Gosh, that's a hard one. That's really hard, because I mean, being a parent now, and I have seen so many parents that I've met over the years when I've tried to help their child who was in treatment. It's a hard balance between not enabling and loving your child and being supportive of your child. So that is such a hard balance. And even I found that must be the most difficult form of love, is just having that fine line between, you don't want to enable them, but you want them to know that they can come to you if they're ready for help. So find a support system. That's what I would say, is find a support system of people that have been through it, that have watched their loved ones, and have been, just find a way to be okay, because at the end of the day, it's going to be your child's journey on getting recovery, and just to try and be okay and find a support system. That would be what I would tell the parents.
Very important. I must admit, very important. I mean, there's so much bullshit around regarding recovery. I see families do it all the time. They finally come to us and they go, well, we've spent $1.2 million already on treatment centers. And I go, what did it do for you? Nothing. So when you relapse, did you not go back and ask for your money back? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, they wouldn't do that. I said, well, we do. What the fuck's going on? Right. Why the hell would you go to a place that's not working for you? So, but we don't know we don't know what we don't know, first of all. And then all of a sudden we come into this world and we're told by peers to go here, do this, go to a 12-step meeting, sit there for a year. You'll get it by osmosis. I have no idea what that means. No. You know, it's like there's action here. And just like Mary said, we need to start some sort of movement. I know it's already starting, of recovered alcoholics, that get the message out. One of the reasons the program exists today is for them parents, is for that husband or wife of the suffering, because it's a shady world out there. Listen, I work with a bunch of treatment centers that are amazing. Oxford Houses, amazing. Haven for Hope, amazing. But there's a lot of sharks out there. They don't give a shit if you're recovery or not. They'll bring you in for 30 days and toss you out as soon as the insurance is up. And then a week later, they'll take you back in again. Yep. I don't even know what that's about. That's about money. It's not about recovery. Those people that come into recovery are 100% guaranteed of getting well. But if you go to some shyster who doesn't know what they're doing and sticking you in your treatment center saying, oh, well, we're going to go walking tomorrow. What the fuck has walking got to do with recovery? It's an added benefit, but let's get down to the causes and conditions. Yes. First of all, it's not about the alcohol and drugs. Many people think, I ask people today in meetings, they go, what's an alcoholic? Just joking. They go, someone who drinks so much alcohol. And I go, oh shit, you're in trouble. What? It's not about the alcohol. It's about the brain diet. It's about my remapped brain from birth. I have a predisposition, so hereditary has brought my alcoholic disease. Before I pick up a drink, I'm hearing and seeing and acting different to my fellows. Okay. And I often share this, Mary. It's like, for instance, me and my brother are stood on the kitchen table. And my mom walks in and she says to Paul, my brother, get down off that table, you stupid idiot, get down. And he gets down and she says the same thing with the same tone to me. Only what I hear is get down off that table, because of the trauma that I've had during my childhood. And this is what people don't understand. We are bodily and mentally different to our fellows. Yes. You agree? I know you can do. I can see your head going like crazy there.
Yes. And you know what? I think it's knowing this makes it very interesting, because it not only tells you, hey, you're an alcoholic or an addict, but it tells you why you react the ways that you react. And to me, it makes it more interesting for somebody who maybe is not wanted to look at their addiction or alcoholism. But when you start getting down to the root causes of it and why you do what you do, it makes it interesting, and it makes you delve into yourself and look at why we do some of the things that we do, So, I mean, I think it's very interesting, listening to you and what you do. It makes me look at my past, and it makes me think about all the ways that I've reacted to things and question it, which I never used to do before.
And that's the connection, isn't it, Mary, between, like, when I sit down in front and they go, what do you know, Dr. Rob, in your big house and your big cars? What do you do about homelessness? I go, let me sit down and talk to you about my homelessness. What do you know about losing your kids? Let me sit down. What do you know about being beaten on the streets? Let me sit down and tell you. What, you haven't stabbed your wife? Let me sit down and talk to you. It's like God's put me through all this stuff So no matter who comes and presents this horrible story and expects me to go, oh, wow, that's terrible. It's like I've either done it or I've worked with somebody who's already done it. It's like we need all the bases covered. So when we look back, and I have to categorically say this, guys, that my past is my greatest asset today. Forget about the colleges and universities and all the stuff that I study. I couldn't do this without being on the streets, without losing my kids, without stabbing my wife, with all this stuff that brings me to who I am today. And you know me, Mary, I'm the best in the world at what I do. I don't even my business card says it. It said the best addictionologist in the world. I'm not taking any shit of anybody. Prove me wrong. Well,
and I love listening to you speak. You know, you're funny, but boy, I remember watching you, especially the last time during the Pay It Forward thing. I got all revved up, but then you had me crying. I was like, wait a minute, you know? I mean, so because I relate to what you're talking about, you know? Yeah. And so I think it has to have substance and weight, right? Our message has to have substance and weight. And so that's why I think, you know, our past means so much, so that somebody can say, well, maybe they do understand what I'm going through, you know?
Before Kristen asks you the last question, because we're running out of time, that specific video for Pay It Forward was supposed to be a power video. It was supposed to be one of my normal talks, but they sat me down. And as they're getting all the cameras ready to record, I started going through my past, and I'm sat in front of this huge swimming pool in this huge house, and I got really upset. So when they started filming, I was like almost crying. And I get people say, coming, that was a different side of Europe. That was absolutely amazing. But it's just what it is. Go on, Chris.
Mary, the final message that you want to send to those who are still suffering.
That even if your mind's telling you you can't do it, it's not worth it. Even if you don't believe in yourself, even if you don't feel like you're ready, move your feet. Take suggestions of somebody that you trust or somebody that you've seen get better, and just move your feet. Even if you don't feel like it, just move your feet, you know, and see what happens.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. We're going to get out for lunch real soon, Mary. In the next 2 weeks, we promise ourselves. We keep saying this, me and Mary. It's been going on for about 50 years now. We still haven't gone out because we're both so busy, but we're going to nail our time down. Thank you so much. But listen, Haven for Hope as well, guys. I think it's havenforhope.com. Before you go, Mary, I want to recognize you, because in the industry when we work, it's a thankless job sometimes, and people don't know how empowered they really are. And one of my jobs is to make people realize how empowered they are and what they do. So I want to personally thank you, not only for being you, Mary, and surviving with your daughter, you know, and all the obstacles, but I want to also thank you for the work that you do. Many people I meet know Mary Maxine Bobbitt. They just know the name or something. You have a huge effect on people's lives. You need to know that. You probably need to know that hundreds of thousands of people with the ripple effect are either safe or doing the right thing thanks to you, Mary. I know that for a fact. So thank you for what you do. And I'll let Kristen say goodbye.
Yes,
and the same to you, Dr. Rob.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I just wanted to say thank you, Mary, and thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really, really am grateful that you had me on the show. Even though I was nervous, I'm glad I got to talk with you, and we'll have lunch soon, Dr.
Sorry I was late.
Yeah, we'll get to the back of that. I don't like that, Chris. Someone's seen you wrong. Guys, Earl's on the show next. I want to thank Mary Maxine Bobbitt. I can't.
Bye, everybody.
I can't say Mary Bobbitt. I got to say
Mary Maxine Bobbitt.
It's
well,
such a
it isn't
song.
English. Bobbitt isn't an English name. So,
yes,
you know.
it is. Thank you so much, Mary. Earl's on the show. Stick around. We're back in 20 seconds. Welcome back to the show, guys. My name's Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with my co-host, Kristen Nolan. Earl, what's up, man? How you doing?
Just sitting out here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, making things happen. I am fantastic. I just finished 2 weeks of vacation to recharge and hitting the ground running.
Beautiful,
Nice.
beautiful. Tell the listeners and the viewers what you do and what you're all about, Earl.
I am the executive director of the Oxford House Foundation of Canada. We have peer-supported recovery housing across the province, 28 homes to be precise. We have multiple models, right? We have Indigenous peer and culturally supported model. We have pre-treatment housing, a little nugget that I came up with due to my lived experience. We have entry-level housing for the chronically homeless and institutionalized as well, and then long-term transitional housing.
Wow.
It's amazing. Absolutely. You've got the whole deal going on.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's not even work. Pardon me?
How long you been involved with all this?
Let's see, I'm coming up on 14 years clean and sober. I've been with the organization for about 12 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Earl, what advice would you give to someone who wants to do what you do, who wants to, start in the recovery community somewhere, to take the initiative to do what you do? What advice would you give?
I think you have to be cautious, right? Because being in recovery, you get really excited to help people, right? I mean, right off the hop, you want to save the world, and that's impossible. But one person at a time, one step at a time. Don't trip yourself up, because the first person to trip you up is going to be yourself. But have a plan. Go in, be thoughtful and insightful, and definitely take your time, because we're dealing with life and death, right? So
let's take you back, Earl, to your deal with alcoholism or drugs. I'm not sure what it is, but take me back to what it all started for you.
Well, originally it was, I know myself, it was, it was childhood trauma is like I just heard you say, it's not the alcohol and drugs, it's what I became through my journey. It was physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual abuse, because I never had my cultural. I'm status native from Saskatchewan, and I never practiced my culture or anything. And then to compound all that, when I was a teenager, I was sexually assaulted, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with it. So I masked my pain with drugs and alcohol.
Earl, how old were you when you started to, abuse substances?
Well, I drank. See, I think it was a predisposition for me, as we say, right? I first drank when I was 12 years old, and it was full blackout drunk. My friends found me outside in a riverbank in the snow.
Wow.
Right. So, thank God for them. That's the reason why I'm still here, because I guarantee you it's Canada, right? I would have froze to death. But that's right off the hop. I drank, I blacked out. So the genetic disposition was in place.
That's crazy. Absolutely. So your journey through, you was never homeless, correct? You was always had somewhere to stay, correct?
No.
No.
I was homeless for 7 years. When I was 30 years old, I got dropped off at a homeless shelter in Calgary. And you know what? Because I was still in active addiction, I fit right in.
Yeah.
I fit right in. It wasn't an issue. I actually had spent, I got evicted, I guess you could say, or barred from the center because I was trafficking narcotics on their property. And I didn't know about all the services around you. That's why raising awareness is huge. I had no idea about the services available. I slept outside for a whole winter, down by a C train station in a lean-to with the fire pit, 14 blankets. You wake up in the morning, you can't feel your feet, you can't feel your hands. You're going, uh-oh, right? So.
Earl, do you think that rock bottoms are imperative for recovery, and why? And then what was your rock bottom?
I see that's a tough one. I think with people like us out there, you don't have to hit rock bottom, right? I like a big focus needs to be on youth. We need to and get them to speak to heal, right? Because I'm a firm believer you heal through your words, right? If when you're honest about what has happened to you, what you've done, it helps heal that process. But my rock bottom wasn't homelessness. It wasn't going to jail. Like, my first charge was trafficking cocaine to an undercover officer, and I got 2 years for that one. I'd never done time in my life, so walking into jail, I was scared shitless. I come through the doors, Earl, I knew everybody that was in there because I'd been on the street already for about a year, right?
Yeah.
But my rock bottom was when my partner was murdered in 2007. She is one of the missing and murdered Indigenous women here in Canada.
That's crazy. That is crazy. What is the worst thing you did during your streak that would give somebody, even though it's something bad, it would give somebody recognition or a hope or something for the future? Because I know when I stabbed my wife, I thought I was the worst person in the world, but when I found out other alcoholics had done it, I kind of accepted that. So what's the worst thing you've done under the influence?
You know what? I woke up one night under a church, under the roof there at the bottom, and I'd had blood up to my elbow, all across and this is the scary part. I thought I was cut or that I had gotten stabbed. So I went down to City Hall to the washroom. I washed my arm off. My knuckles were swollen. I had a couple teeth marks in my hand. I had no idea who I hit, who I beat up. And I'm on the street. So I'm walking around for like half a year going like this, worried that person's going to come up behind me, right? There's so many things that we do under the influence. Like I assaulted a police officer, right? It's lots of fights, lots of violence. It's just, and you know what? Everything that happened, as bad as it is, I wouldn't change it because it made me into the person I am today. I've went to university. I've gotten the addiction studies and all that, after I had already got the position at Oxford House. My lived experience is my best education. My 7 years on the street, my 3 years in jail, that was my best education for what I do.
So that was your worst. What's your best thing you've done in recovery that you're proud of?
Forgave myself for one.
Boom. That's a huge one. A huge
Right?
one.
I love myself again, right?
Yep.
I lost myself 110%, but I'd learned to forgive myself for everything. Like the sexual abuse was pretty traumatic. I'd ended up getting really drunk and woke up, and there's an old guy taking advantage of me, right? And I didn't know what to do. Like I was a nationally recognized freestyle wrestler, senior football team, right? And this happened to me, and right away the shame kicked in, the embarrassment kicked in. I put myself in that position to, obviously nobody should go ahead and take advantage of somebody, but I put myself in a bad position for that. So I just went into a shell that amplified the drinking, amplified the drug use, and that's just basically how I dealt with everything for 18 years.
Yeah. Earl, so many people say, you hear about people going back and forth, a lot of people, and I've said this before in another show, that I feel that a lot of people don't want to believe that addiction is a disease. What do you have to say about that? Like, why do you think it's a disease?
I think it's a disease because it's almost genetic, right? It's like cancer. You can catch, if your dad has cancer, there's a good chance they're doing colonoscopies and everything on you to see if you can get it. It's the genetic disposition, I think, would be my classification of a disease. The good thing is there is a cure, right?
Yeah.
And
I
that's
like that.
recovery.
Yeah. definitely. And it's permanent recovery. You know, if you're doing the right things.
Long-term, meaningful recovery is what this is all about. What I do now isn't work. This is a gift of my recovery. Right?
Yeah.
To see families get reunited, to, you know, it's kids and their dads or their moms or the child with their parents that we're helping. It's so meaningful. I love it. I've been doing this for 12 and a half years. I've been doing this. Not once have I woken up and went, shit, I got to go to work.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Well, I thought the best, when I started my practice many years ago, I thought the best thing in the world was watching the face of a alcoholic, drug addict, or, you know, get well and see that light come in the eyes. But then we started doing partners, and then that became the most amazing thing ever when the spouse comes up to the office and thanks you and gives you a card or a cake. I thought that was amazing. But I have to say, we also specialize in putting families back together again. And the first family we put back together was about 6 years ago in Dallas, Texas, in the offices. And all the family came in, and it was such an emotional day. We took lots of photographs. But yeah, I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. I don't get involved with the money and all the politics of this business. I just like to be face to face with my patients, but watching them all come together. We have a famous saying here, because we work with the spouse. End of story. If you don't want to come on board without your spouse, we're not taking you on board. We're not one of these companies that come after your money. We're not taking you. Offer us twice as much. We're not taking you. If you're married and living in the same house, your wife needs to come on board. Any kids over the age of 16 need to come on board to make sure that everybody's doing their own work. And what we say to them is, everybody swim to your own vessels, your own life rafts, start doing your work. And as we come towards the end, I'm going to start pulling you all in together as you come together and reunite against the shore. And it's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. It's something that should be celebrated.
Absolutely. I love that analogy, Dr. Rob. That's such a good one. Earl, I wanted to know, what was I supposed to say? Oh my God. Okay, I remember now. Sorry. To people who are new in recovery, what would you say are the most important ingredients to make a successful recovery recipe?
First off, I would say give yourself a chance, right? There's so much self-doubt in a person when you're recovering. Can I do it? Am I going to be back here in 2 weeks? This is tough. Give yourself a chance. Take a risk, right? It's okay to, I don't like using the word fail, but I've done it so many times in my life. It's not the failure that needs to be the focus. It's the success. If you went into treatment once, you got 3 months clean, and then you had a slip, then so be it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Keep moving forward. I went through treatment 5 times before I got sober. I was in detox 28 times. Right?
Wow.
It's just when I did it for my girlfriend. I did it for my kids. I attempted it, I'd say. I did it for, parents. When I did it for Earl, I was all in. I walked into that treatment center, and I was pretty blunt. And they asked me, what are you doing here? And I said, I came in here to face myself, to work on my recovery, and I walked through those doors alone. I will make friends in here, but when I leave, I'll be walking out those doors alone, because I know the success rate of treatment centers.
Not very high.
And
Not very
group,
high.
The group I was in, I'm the only one clean and sober still.
Yeah. We're so glad you are. Absolutely. We're coming to the end as usual. Not enough time. One more final question for you, and that is, what would you like to leave with our listeners before you go?
I'm all about self-care and self-love, right? Take the chance on yourself. You're worth it. And it will be a ripple effect. Even though I sobered up for me, it affected my family in a positive way. It affects my friends in a positive way. Now, look where I'm 14 years ago, I was sleeping on a mat outside. I'm the executive director of the largest peer-supported recovery housing organization in Canada. I'd have never thought that was possible.
No.
Take a risk on yourself because you're worth it.
Never put the brakes on your imagination or your success, because I have a God in my life today, which I'm so awesome for. But I have a friend, it's my psychotherapist. She always says he wants to give us so much, but we ask for so little. Whether it be the universe or God or whatever, it's like once you're doing the right thing. So I heard there was the guy that does Family Fortunes on TV. His name will come to me in a second, but he tells a story because he was homeless with alcoholism as well, and he tells a story of his conversations with God. And when he was on the streets, he just waited off the streets, and he was a comedian that was just making like $20, $30 a night in the 70s. And he had a conversation with God one night, and he said they was getting evicted from public housing and rented premises, just getting thrown out for not paying the rent. You know, he was only a teenager, but his mom, single parent, would get thrown out. So he asked God for 20 acres of land, and he asked him blatantly because he was working with other people and he was doing great with his stand-up, but he always recovery was first. And he got an offer to buy this land for $10,000, which he could afford. He couldn't buy anything else, but he was a broken down land. And when he went there, for some unknown reason, somebody else was passing, and they stopped. And all of a sudden, the seller and the buyer and this other guy was sat, and the other guy offered Steve Harvey, 20 acres for the same price because he needed a quick deal. So he took that deal. And then Steve goes on to say, well, I know I've got the 20 acres, but would you think I could ask for any more? So he said, so there's a few friends of mine in prison, God, and they're never going to come out. Can I get their 20 acres? That's 40 acres. And a few months later, he got an opportunity to buy 40 acres. So he carried on and carried on. He has 500 acres now from God that he kept asking. I just think it's an amazing story. It's like, when I came over here, I wanted three things. Unselfishly, I wanted to become a millionaire so I could give my money away, which we give, I don't know how much. I always said 100,000 last year, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that. I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to have a platform on TV with like 10, 18 million viewers. Check. You know, these ambitions are there. These dreams, what you can visualize in your head, you can hold in your hand, guys. Never forget that. People are too scared to dream and imagine. It's like if you can visualize it and you're doing the right thing, and I mean the right thing. I don't mean chairing 12-step meetings and being the CEO of that amazing 12-bed treatment center. Then you're going off and you're sleeping with your girlfriend without your wife knowing. That's not doing the right thing. If you are really doing the right thing, then these things will come to you. As simple as that. Earl, it was so nice to have you on the show, man. Absolutely amazing. We've got to have you back on. I want to say thank you so much for being on. Thank you for what you do, man. It's unbelievable.
Thank you. You as well.
And thank you, Earl. It was so nice to see you and to have you.
Thank you, Kristen. You as well. Thank you.
All right, guys. Guys, we'll be right back in 2 seconds. Welcome back to the end of the show, guys. This is Dr. Rob Kelly, the Addiction Doctor, along with my co-host, as usual, Kristen Nolan, who we're going to have a conversation and out this person because you were late. Because I know it's horrible when miscommunication. So we're going to get a three-way later, and we're going to be finding that out. So we've got to do our end. We've got to do our beginning at the end because we didn't do it. How was your week?
It was okay. I'm going to be honest. I struggled this week. You know, us in recovery, we have those great weeks and then we have those shitty weeks. And this week was one of those shitty weeks. I'm looking for work, and, you know, it's just a challenge right now for me, but thank you.
Are you doing the right thing? Are you doing the right thing in your life every day? If you are, things will come. Believe me, they'll come.
Oh, I know they will. And I know that.
So thanks for joining us, guys. It was a great show. I've seen the viewers was up a little bit this week. So that's amazing. Thank you, Mary, Maxine, Bobby, and Earl. I still don't know how to say your last name, Earl. I'm going to take it. I can see you in the green room. I'm going to take a stab at it. It's Tyson Pearson, something like that. Great last name. I want a name like that. Kelly seems so bland. You know, so thank you, guys. Me and Chris will be back next week, Friday, 12 o'clock Central. It's 2 more amazing guests. If you need anything, guys, just give us a text or shout out. Daddy, Please Stop Drinking is the book out there from me. If you buy it, all the proceeds, not the profits, all the proceeds going into that book go out again to communities around the world. It's $9. If you buy it and don't like it, message me. I'll send you $9. You know, it's not for money. This is to let everybody know my story and to let everybody know that there's a way out no matter what happens. Me, I'll say bye-bye until next week, guys. And Chris is going to finish us off.
Bye, guys. Thank you. See you next week.